Hello everyone. Today we are going to review the movie. Let me just move that out of the way. I thought it was, but turns out there's still stuff in the way. I got a t-shirt. I apparently was not prepared to film this video. I'm just going to take this stuff, my jeans, and so on and so forth, and just move it over to this chair. Okay. I think that just leaves kind of the blanket background, which is what I like a little bit better rather than having those shorts sitting in every single video that I've filmed over the last month and a half probably, and it just doesn't look aesthetically pleasing, does it? And I hope the lighting's okay for this video, because for some reason it seems awfully dim, doesn't it? I don't know why. I turned it a little bit closer and hopefully that's better, but I don't know, maybe it's just the way it's lit up. I don't know. I'll fix it for the next video. But anyhow, today we are going to be reviewing Cry Macho. So this is starring Clint Eastwood. It's actually kind of funny because I went to see another movie, Cop Shop, on Sunday night, and the theater was empty, and I had a couple days off, so I took the advantage of going to see Cry Macho last night on its probably, I think, last day at the theater that I can, well, the closest theater to me anyway, that it will be in. The last day it was going to be there. So I thought, oh, I'll take advantage and go see it because why not? And I had the theater all to myself again, so it's like having a home theater. It was kind of an awesome experience because I don't get the theater. It isn't very often that you get a theater completely to yourself, but I think now with, well, just the restrictions, especially now that you have to show ID in certain things, that a lot of people aren't going to be going out quite as much as they used to just because, well, I'm not going to get into that because it doesn't really matter for this video. But yeah, I think you'll see a downfall in people going out and doing things that they used to do just because of the way things are being handled, for sure. But that's not really what this video is about. This video is about the movie. It does seem awfully dark. Here, let me just fix that. Okay, sorry about that. I think that is a little bit better. You can kind of see my face a little bit better this way now. Oh my god, there's stuff sliding into my leg now from the other side of the couch. Let me just move this DVD and this book. I don't even know this. Oh, the Lost Boys series that I just found at Walmart, actually, which I will be doing a review of for my second horror month. Anyway, Cry Macho, let's get back into it, because we've had mishaps with the lights and everything else has been falling on me and so on and so forth, and there's still stuff sliding from one side of the couch. I need to clean, clearly. That is one thing I need to do. So this movie starts out with actually a song, and what you are assuming is going to be Clint Eastwood's character driving down the road, which we're correct about. And it is incredible that Clint Eastwood, at the age of 91, if you know who Clint Eastwood is still acting. Like, that is an incredible feat on its own. And Dwight Yoakam was born in, I don't think he's much younger. Oh, 56. Oh, wow, he is quite a bit younger than I guess. He would be in his 60s, I believe. Would that be correct? 56? That would make him in his, that would put him in his 60s? Yeah. I'm not sure the exact 60. Would it be 64 or 65 now? I'm trying to think how old he would be. But yeah, still quite a bit younger than Clint Eastwood. I love both these actors. I've seen them in other things. Clint Eastwood has been around for years, and he used to do a lot of old Western movies, and this seems kind of fitting. If this is going to be his last film, it was sort of in a Western setting, so it seems fitting that he would enter his career the same way he is going to exit his career. If this is going to be his last film, I don't know. He might do a couple more now that he's, you know, kind of gotten back into the swing of things over the last few years, and I think he is a very important person in the film industry because he's done a lot with restoration of films and so on and so forth. So he's definitely been a big part of the, I guess, how do I word this? He's been a big part of the filming corporation. Would that be proper way to say that? I don't think so, but anyhow, disregard that comment. He's definitely put a lot of time into caring for films. That's a better way to put it. Let's put it that way. So in this movie, I guess he used to be a cowboy, and he worked as a ranch hand, and he also, I guess there was a little flashback in the movie of him doing some rodeo work, and I believe he might have actually rode horses at one time, like the whole try to stay on for 8 seconds thing, and it looked like he had a very serious injury. And then after the injury and the loss of his wife and son, he dove into alcohol pretty deeply and just kind of became, I guess in lack of the term, an alcoholic. And then Dwight Yoakam's character, Howard Polk, was his name in the movie, and Clint Eastwood's character name was Mike Milo or Mike Millo. I can't remember the exact pronunciation of it, but so he has a son that lives in Mexico with their mother, but he's heard word that his son is in trouble and he's being abused. He doesn't know by who. He's just heard from word of mouth that his son is in a very bad place right now, and he wants to bring his son back to be with him because he believes he will have a better life living on his ranch, because obviously it seems like Howard has made a very good life for himself, and he hasn't seen his son since his son was 6, and his son would be about 13 now, and he doesn't know who else to send down but Mike to go and get his son, even though apparently once Mike gets to Mexico, we actually find out that he's sent 2 other people down to get his son previously, and the first one ended up in jail, and the second one eventually just left Mexico once he realized that I guess he just couldn't find Howard's son, so he just decided that he was going to give up on that adventure and turn around and leave Mexico and just forget about even trying to track him down. But Mike does not give up. Mike is very persistent. He goes right to Howard's wife's house, and the wife's name was, I believe it was Lita or Leda. I'm going to try to find a picture of them or her in the movie. Let's just see. Yes, it was Lita. And we don't really know much about her. In fact, we kind of build upon these characters as the movie goes along, which I think was a very interesting way of doing it. I don't think that's done very much. You kind of jump in and know who the characters are right away. But Howard actually fires Howard actually fires Mike in the beginning of the movie, and then a year later hires him back on to go get his son. So very interesting turn of events. I guess he didn't need him, and then all of a sudden he did need him when he found out that something was going on, like a personal family matter. So Mike goes down to get his son, and at first it seems like the mother is going to be kind of, I guess, doesn't really seem to care that much. She goes kind of just like, take him, blah, 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 sort of thing. She doesn't seem to really care that much. She kind of wants him gone because it seems like the son, Rafa, who was played by Eduardo Minette, and the mother was played by Fernanda Irola, I'm going to say is the pronunciation of that name. And who was her right-hand man played by? Oh, God, come on. Show me a photo of him. No. I don't even know if it actually shows him here. So anyway, the mother seems to be in a very secure situation. She seems like she's of pretty high power. She has her own security guards. Who knows what she's actually doing across the border, and she seems to have... They described her in the summary of the movie here as an alcoholic. I wouldn't really consider her that. I don't really know she does seem to enjoy her alcohol, but I wouldn't really say she's like an alcoholic. She just asks him for a drink. I don't know how they made that jump in the description of the movie. It's kind of an odd description. I guess maybe just because they saw her drinking once or twice. I don't know. She did seem drunk, I guess, when they had their first encounter, her and Mike. So I mean, I guess maybe you could make that connection, and maybe she's into the alcohol because of the way her son behaves and the fact that he's always out on the streets. And I guess he's into cockfighting, which is roosters, if you don't know, where they get... It's illegal, very illegal sport. But this movie takes place in 1979, so, I mean, it was still illegal back then, but it's definitely more frowned upon now than it is. If you got caught doing it now, I don't know what the fine would be, but it'd be way more hefty than it was in 1979, that's for sure. So where was I? So Mike then goes out to find Rafa and ends up actually finding him at the cockfighting arena. And he does end up being with him for a little while, and then Rafa ends up running away from the cops because I guess he's obviously in trouble with them for some things he's done, including what he's currently doing. So Mike goes back to Lita's house, or Lita's house. I guess it might be Lita. No, it was Lita. Goes back to Lita's house. That's what I'm going to say. I believe it was actually Lita. So he goes back to Lita's house, and then she totally flips her like tune and says that the child is her property and she's not going to give him up, and to leave Mexico City, and she gets her, I guess, security to follow him out of Mexico City. So he's kind of ends up having to skip from town to town with Rafa because it turns out that Rafa actually did decide to go with him and falls asleep in the back of his truck. And at this time, Mike doesn't want to have anything to do with the kid. He tries to throw him out of the car and tells him to take a hike and move along and go back, that he won't be going to his father. And it's just a whole mess. But then Rafa basically makes all these claims that he's going to falsely accuse Mike of a whole bunch of stuff if he doesn't take him to his dad. So Mike says, fine, get in the car, because obviously Mike doesn't want to deal with the federales because what he's already doing is technically illegal. It's kidnapping. Even though the kid is coming willingly, obviously all the mother would have to say is that her son was kidnapped and the federales would be after them, which turns out that's what happens throughout the movie anyway. And the scenes that were intense were very well built up, and it's just kind of like all of a sudden out of the blue, and you're wondering what's going to happen next. Are they actually going to make it out of Mexico? And oh my god, it was just, the scenes that were intense were very few and far between, but they were very well done, because it's like, oh my god, they could die here. They've got to stay away from the federales, because if they don't, they're going to get arrested and they end up being in Mexico for the rest of their lives in a prison. And I'm assuming that probably is a worse fate than probably dying in Mexico, to be completely honest, because I'm not sure how the prison system works there, but it's probably much worse than some places. So they hop from small town to small town, and as they go along, Rafa talks about his rooster being Macho and tells a story about how he was getting completely beat up in one fight, and then he just rose up to the occasion and completely ripped the other rooster apart. And that's, from that day on, he called him Macho, and Rafa thinks he's a very macho type. I guess he's a teenager, right? So he's kind of has that teenage complex of the whole nothing could kill me sort of attitude, and Mike kind of instills in him that if they're going to go to Texas, this whole macho thing isn't going to stand, and you can't be doing what you've been doing down here in Mexico, like stealing cars and cockfighting and all that other sort of stuff. So Mike actually instills a very valuable lesson upon him throughout this movie, and Rafa becomes a better kid because of it. So Mike was kind of like a second dad to Rafa throughout the movie, and when they finally get to the final town in Mexico, Mike ends up falling in love with this widow, and her name was, I'm going to say Marta. It might have been Martha, but it's spelled Marta, so I'm going to say Marta. And she has, I guess, her daughter's, is it her daughter's kids, I believe? I think it was her daughter's kids, yeah. So unfortunately her daughter passed away and her husband passed away as well. So she is now raising her, I guess, grandchildren on her own. Yep. So Mike ends up falling in love with her in this small town. He does end up fulfilling his, obviously his duty, I guess, or payback as he calls it, to Howard at the end of the movie. And as we go along, we actually found out that there's more than one reason that Howard wants the kid back. I mean, he still does want his son in his custody because he believes it would be a better life for him. But he also has, I guess, real estate down there under her name because he wanted to get around the inner workings of the law, I guess, and how it worked down there, and not have to pay for it, I suppose. So I guess he thinks if he has the kid that he'll get the money he deserves because, I don't know, it was a very weird concept to use the kid as a bargaining chip, but also want the kid back at the same time. It was just very odd. Yeah, investments, obviously, in Mexico that him and his mother are having a dispute over, and if he has the kid, she'll give him the money, because obviously, even though he put it under her name, it is technically his, right? He paid for it, so even though it is under her name. So yeah, a very odd situation to be in because he does want the kid back, but at the same time, he also wants his money. And he does say to Mike that it is about more than just the money. So Mike does know that he does care for the kid, obviously, and wants him to have a good life and a better one in Texas than he will in Mexico. And he says throughout the movie to Rafa that if he doesn't like it, he can always come back. And at one point, they get their car stolen, and then when they try to leave the last town they're in the first time, they end up having to turn back because the federales are just patrolling the roads like crazy, and they actually end up arresting the two guys that stole their vehicle, which is funny. And so they go back, and that's when he starts to kind of form this relationship with Marta and the kids. And then when the federales show up with one of Lita's security guards, they have to leave, and that was kind of the sadder moment, one of the sadder moments in the movie. And they do end up getting followed by the cops, and then there's a scene with the cops where they're looking for drugs. The cops find nothing, and they say that they have to get to the border because Rafa's father is sick, and Mike is his uncle, and they're in a rush. They weren't trying to run from the cops. And let me just say that Mike was not helping the situation either by calling the cops a bunch of names and so on and so forth. But the cops just kind of ignored that, thankfully, and Rafa pays them off, and they go on their way. At least these cops didn't know who they were, because otherwise that would have been a very worse situation for them. So the luckiest situation I think they had was when latest security guard finally catches up with them on the road and then runs them off the road, and Macho actually jumps out of the car at him and attacks him when he's pointing the gun at them, and they are able to turn the situation in their favor and take his car and leave him stranded. So that was the more intense situation. I think the most intense situation in the movie, because they're so close to getting Rafa to the border to his father, And it's just like, oh my God, this is really how this is going to end. They're going to die here, because obviously neither of them were going to give up, and they already had a run-in with him a couple cities back before, or a couple towns back before they were even there. And he tried to say that he was being kidnapped, and then Rafael uses the power of saying that, no, this guy is abusing me, and then shows them his back where he has all these bruises and scars and cuts and so on and so forth. So, yeah, the kid was actually smart. He got them out of a lot of situations and made Mike a happy man, because at the very end of the movie, he hands Rafa over across the border without any papers, because obviously Howard is going to take care of that at the border where they're doing the exchange, and nobody's going to be trying to stop them from doing it. So Rafa was reunited with his father, and I kind of thought that, well, actually, I didn't actually see this coming at all. I thought Mike was going to just drive, or was going to go through the border with Rafa, but he actually decides to turn around and go back to the town that Marta was in and stay with her. So it's kind of funny, I guess. It was kind of a love story, and also a, yeah, there was a love story mixed in with the rest of the movie, which I thought was good, because I guess it was kind of two people trying to find their true purpose, and both of them helped each other do that along the way. And even though Rafa finds out that his father wasn't necessarily doing everything for him with the best intentions, he still wanted to be with his father, because it was still going to be much better than what his mother was doing to him and abusing him. And that's why Rafa was staying on the streets, because he felt safer on the streets than he did when he went home, because his mom would bring home, I guess, numerous men and keep trying to get her to call, keep trying to get Rafa to call them uncle, and he just eventually said, how many different guys can I call uncle? And yeah, I can see why that would be very confusing for a young kid, especially at that age. He's just turned 13, so I can see why he would be living that kind of life in Mexico, and it seemed to do favors for him anyway, because it seemed that his life on the streets was actually better than his life at home. So it is sad to think about that, especially when lots of kids end up, even to this day, end up living on the streets because their home life sucks. So I don't wish that upon anybody, and there is a valuable life lesson to learn, and for all these people. I mean, Rafa should have probably been taken, been brought across the border when he was much younger, and then none of this would have had to happen. But otherwise, there wouldn't have been much of a movie, right? I mean, it could have been much. It would have been a much different movie. It would have been, I guess, maybe the mother trying to get the kid back all the time and failing miserably, because I don't think she would have been able to do much. But yeah, very good movie. I give this movie an 8 out of 10, and I'm actually surprised I was able to talk about it for 21 minutes. But I don't really have any criticism of this movie, actually. It was just a really good movie. I just think it 8 out of 10 is what it deserves. I was just thrilled with it that much, and they did a very good job of keeping, I guess, you in suspense of what was going to happen next, because there were even some scenes where I thought something was going to happen, and then it kind of just stayed calm. So the scenes where something did happen, it was kind of just like, boom, this is happening now, and we're kind of in the moment dealing with it, what's going to happen next. It was kind of very quick. You had to be quick thinking in order to get out of those situations. Some of them for sure, and they were very intense because they were so few and far between, as I said. But yeah, this movie does. This movie is one of those movies I would say you definitely should go and see it on the big screen, actually, if you do have a chance. Kind of surprising that I would say that about a movie. It didn't really seem to be that popular, obviously, if I had the theater to myself, but it's also been out for a couple weeks, and it's during the time where there's other big blockbusters out, So, I mean, I can understand why maybe it wouldn't do as well. Like, I think it was competing with Free Guy, and what else is out right now? There's a couple other movies. Yeah, The Legend of the Ten Rings is out right now too, so I can see why maybe it would be kind of overshadowed. It's so hard these days to release a movie that, especially lately, with the way everything's being postponed and pushed back. But luckily, we are getting. Luckily, we are able to go see them on the big screen again. So that's a nice touch, anyway. Instead of having to rent everything at home or pay double the price for a movie at home, it was kind of sucked for a while. Hey, just being stuck inside. But it's nice to actually get back out there and at least go to the theater. I probably won't be going to any restaurants or anything, just because it's much cheaper to just cook at home anyway. And going out right now is probably going to be a little bit of a hassle for a while, just until everything kind of blows over, I guess, and we see where things are going to go. But anyhow, if you'd like to see me do a video of me just talking about stuff like that, I could do that for sure. Just let me know down in the comments below. And also, as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it, if you are going to go see it, or whenever it comes out on digital or DVD or Blu-ray or 4K, or what are they up to now? 8K, I think. So whatever it comes out on that you buy it on, let me know. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.